The Government of Croatia, formerly the Government of the Republic of Croatia, commonly abbreviated to Croatian Government, is the main executive branch of government in Croatia. It is led by the President of the Government, informally abbreviated to Premier or Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is nominated by the President of the Republic from among those candidates who enjoy majority support in the Croatian Parliament. The candidate is then chosen by the Parliament. There are 20 other government members, serving as deputy prime ministers. Government ministers are both. They are chosen by the Prime Minister and confirmed by the Parliament. The Government of the Republic of Croatia exercises its executive powers in conformity with the Croatian constitution and legislation enacted by the Croatian Parliament. The current government is led by Prime Minister Tihomir Orešković. Following the Croatian-Hungarian settlement of 1868, the Kingdom of Croatia-Slavonia and the government of the land, headed by Crown-appointed Ban, were established. This government existed until the Austria-Hungary breakup and the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes creation in 1918. In 1939, the Banovina of Croatia was established and a head of the Banovina of Croatia was appointed by the Crown, but no effective government was formed before World War II. In 1943, the ZAVNOH established an executive board to act as a new government. Communist Croatia, while a part of Communist Yugoslavia, had a separate government with limited powers. Following the first multi-party elections and the adoption of the present Constitution of Croatia in 1990, the present governmental form was adopted and Stjepan Mesić became the first person to hold the title of Prime Minister of Croatia, while Franjo Gregurić was the first Prime Minister of an independent Croatia. Since communist rule's end, the Republic of Croatia has had 12 governments headed by 10 different prime ministers. 8 governments have been formed by the Croatian Democratic Union, 3 by the Social Democratic Party of Croatia and 1 was a national unity government. Terminology. The term government in Croatia primarily refers to the executive branch, as used by the government itself, the press and colloquially, as that branch of the government is responsible for day-to-day governance of the nation. This sense is intended when it is said that a political party forms the government. At its widest, the term Croatian government can refer collectively to all 3 traditional branches of government, including the legislative branch and judicial branch, as well as other parts of government and civil services which are part of the state of Croatia. Governmental powers. The government, the main executive power of the Croatian state, is headed by the Prime Minister. The PM currently has 4 deputies, 3 of whom also currently serve as government ministers. There are 17 other ministers, who are appointed by the Prime Minister with the approval of the Sabah. The government ministers are each in charge of a particular sector of activity such as foreign affairs. The Prime Minister and all the deputies form an inner cabinet, tasked with coordinating and supervising the work of government ministers on behalf of the PM. The inner cabinet also prepares materials for meetings of the full government cabinet. The first deputy prime minister also discharges the duties of the prime minister when the latter is incapacitated or absent. The executive branch is responsible for proposing legislation and a budget, executing the laws and guiding the foreign and internal policies of the Republic. The government's official residence is at the Banski Dvori in Zagreb. Although the cabinet normally meets at the Banski Dvori, occasionally its meetings are held elsewhere in the country. The government of the Republic of Croatia exercises its executive powers in conformity with the Croatian constitution and legislation enacted by the Croatian Parliament, the ZASTAVI. Its structure, operational procedures and decision-making processes are defined by the Government of the Republic of Croatia Act and the Government Rules of Procedure. The Constitution mandates that the government proposes legislation and other documents to the Parliament, proposes the budget and gives financial reports, implements acts and other decisions of the Parliament, enacts any regulations required to implement the acts, defines foreign and internal policies, directs and oversees the operation of state administration, promotes the economic development of the country, directs the activities and development of public services and performs other activities conforming to the provisions of the Constitution and applicable legislation. The government also passes regulations and administrative acts and orders appointments and removals of appointed officials and civil servants within the scope of its powers. Furthermore, the government makes rulings in cases of conflicts of jurisdiction between governmental institutions, responds to questions asked parliamentary majority and opposition representatives, prepares proposals of new legislation and other regulations, gives opinions on legislation and other regulations and adopts strategies for the economic and social development of the country. The government manages state property of the Republic of Croatia unless special legislation provides otherwise. It may appoint special committees to manage the property on its behalf. This process is implemented through appointed members of supervisory boards and managing boards of companies partially or wholly owned by the Republic of Croatia. The government maintains specialized bodies, agencies and offices, including the Legislation Office, the Public Relations Office and the Office for National Minorities, that are required by the Government Act of 1998, as well as committees to decide administrative matters. Various branches of government may establish joint services. There are further entities established by the government as companies designed to support the aims of the government, such as the Croatian Bank for Reconstruction and Development that strives to fund the reconstruction and development of the economy of Croatia. Local governments are separate from the central government. The latter maintains a state administration office in each county, under the Ministry of Administration. The government is responsible to the Croatian Parliament. The Parliament may recall the government as a whole or any member of the government in particular by a simple majority vote following a request for a confidence vote by 1/5 of the Parliament members or by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister and other members of the government are jointly responsible for decisions passed by the government and individually responsible for the respective portfolios. The President of the Republic appoints the Prime Minister, who must then secure a vote of confidence from the Croatian Parliament. The appointment is therefore countersigned by the Speaker of the Parliament. To signify this, appointments of members of the government are done by the Prime Minister with the approval of the Croatian Parliament. The rules of procedure and regulations enacted by the government must be published in Narodni Novine, the official Gazette of Croatia, to be binding. Government operations, government meetings are public. However, the government may decide to close any part of its sessions to the public. The Prime Minister may authorize any deputy to represent the PM and otherwise take over any particular task assigned to the PM. The quorum for government sessions is a majority of government members. Most decisions are reached by a simple majority vote. A 2/3 majority vote is required for decisions about changes to the Croatian constitution, uniting with other states or transferring any part of Croatian sovereignty to supranational organizations, changes to Croatian borders, dissolution of the parliament, or calling a referendum. The inner core cabinet monitors and discusses the operation of the government, and may hold preliminary discussions on any matter performed by the government. The core cabinet may act as the government in emergencies when the government is unable unable to meet. However, its decisions must be verified at the next government session to remain in force. The government secretary coordinates agencies, offices and other services subordinated to the government. Current government. Since the 22nd of January 2016, the president of the government has been Tihomir Orešković. There are two deputy prime ministers, Tomislav Karamarko and Božo Petrov. The government ministers are from the Croatian Democratic Union and the Bridge of Independent lists, with 5 of them being independent politicians, including the prime minister himself. List of ministers. Government history. Ban's Council of 1848 to 1850 was the first executive council established in Croatia. It acted as an administrative body governing Croatia within the Austrian Empire as a government. Following the Austro-Hungarian Compromise of 1867 and the subsequent Croatian-Hungarian settlement of 1868, the Kingdom of Croatia-Slavonia was established, along with the government of the land headed by Crown-appointed Ban. The establishment was carried out during the administration of Ban Levin Rauch. This government form continued until the breakup of Austria-Hungary and creation of the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes in 1918. In total, 15 bans acted as heads of the government in this period. The Cvetković-Maček Agreement was made in 1939. It established the Banovina of Croatia and appointed Ivan Subasic as ban to head the Croatian government. Still, an effective government was not formed before the onset of World War II. In June 1943, the National Anti-Fascist Council of the People's Liberation of Croatia established an 11-member executive board to act as the new Government of Croatia. Communist-ruled Croatia, a part of Yugoslavia, maintained its own government. The government was appointed by and responsible to the Sabah. During the communist era, there were 14 governments of Croatia. The official name of the government was the Executive Council of the Sabah. Following the parliamentary elections and the adoption of the present Constitution of Croatia in 1990, the present form of government was begun. On the 30th of May 1990, Stjepan Mesić became the first person to hold the title of Prime Minister of Croatia, and Franjo Gregurić was the first Prime Minister of an independent Croatia, as he held the office on the 8th of October 1991 when the Declaration of Independence came into effect. List of governments of the Republic of Croatia since the 30th of May 1990. The Republic of Croatia has had a total of 12 governments headed by 10 different prime ministers. The prime minister in the first government after the first multi-party election was Stjepan Mesić, who would later go on to become the president of Croatia. That government was formed by the Croatian Democratic Union, as were 7 other governments of Croatia. 3 governments have been formed by the Social Democratic Party of Croatia, and 1 was a national unity government formed during the Croatian War of Independence's peak between July 1991 and August 1992, with Franjo Gregurić as the Prime Minister.